We're talking to Brent Musburger, who called the 1988 Miami-Notre Dame game that became known as Catholics versus Convicts. What do you remember about going into that game?
It was unbelievable, Dan. The environment around South Bend. You know, the one real regret that I have is when NBC, God bless them, they took control of the Notre Dame home games, and I wasn't able to go back in after that to do it. It's one of the great settings, and this one was special. You have to remember, and this was another game I did with Ara Parsigan at the booth, Jimmy Johnson and the Canes trampled Jerry Faust down in Miami in his final game as head coach. Now, let's be perfectly honest. Faust, who had done a great job at Massillon High School in Ohio, was in over his head as the head coach, but he was such a wonderful man. He was so great to be around. He loved children, loved him to death, and the Canes pounded on him, and they never let up. They'd have put 100 up if they could have. Believe me. I know Jimmy Johnson likes to go around and say, oh, it was a terrible team. They brought it down themselves, blah, 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 blah. Nonsense. That Cane team wanted to bury Notre Dame that particular day. And at some point in the fourth quarter, in a quiet, distinguished way, Ara Parsigan, as my analyst said, I would have thought that Coach Johnson would have shown more compassion. Yeah. Well, there was a great writer down in Miami at the Herald, Edwin Pope, and he unloaded on Parsigan at Notre Dame. Went to the front page of the Miami Herald, and game on. Lou Holtz then came in. Ara and I did a game up at Minnesota. Holtz was the coach of Minnesota. It was the only time in his life that Ara ever asked me to please stay out of the room, but I knew what was going on. Ara was talking to Holtz about coming to South Bend. Then the good fathers allow Holtz to go out and get some Hurricane-type football players. Get them in there, okay? So we go to the stadium that day in South Bend, and this youngster walks up to me and hands me the T-shirt. Catholics versus the Convicts. I've still got it in some storage box up in Montana, Dan. I'll never forget it. I go in. We're all set. We're getting ready to do the game. You know, we got a prepackage, just a prepackage. And then I hear there's a fist fight in the tunnel. Yeah. We got to throw everything out. So it starts. Ishmael was directly involved in whatever happened in that tunnel, but they've changed the procedure for allowing visiting players and home players to come out of that signal tunnel in South Bend ever since. And it was a great day. It was a great football game, okay? And it came down to Cleveland Gary lunging to get a first down around the goal line, and he didn't get it. To this day, it's the only time that Jimmy Johnson will get mad at me when he sees me, because Pat Hayden and I both said he didn't have the first down, and it was Notre Dame football. And then in the end, it came down to a 2-point conversion. It was knocked down. It was, you know, it's funny. Not every game do I remember, obviously, but this is certainly one that still resonates. But make no mistake about this. This was not a bunch of privileged children at Notre Dame. Yeah. These were very, very good football players, and they could slug it out with anybody, and they did that day against a very talented Miami team. Jimmy Johnson's run down in Miami was remarkable. The Blades brothers and Irvin and all those guys, Testaverde, all of those guys, loved being around them. I don't think that this is quite Catholics versus the Convicts, too. I know because of that game. I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know, Mark Richt is not the same style as Jimmy Johnson. Brian Kelly's got fire in his belly. He's a little bit like Lou Holtz. We've seen him lose it on the sideline. It's going to be a heck of a football game. This is the first time. This is the first Saturday of this year that I'm missing not being in the arena. That's a game I would love to call.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.